One more inductee. A lot of these people that have been inducted tonight and over the years have made a mark on the national landscape of sports. And I can't remember exactly what year it was, but somebody decided to let people know what was going on around the country when it came to sports and news and business and life, I think are the four sections. And Al Nueharth has been a pioneer in a lot of things, but he started a newspaper that a lot of people said wouldn't work, and you can still get it Monday through Friday everywhere in this country. His presenter is Bruce Conley. Al Nueharth. Born a poor country boy in South Dakota in 1924, Nueharth became a self-made multimillionaire who built the nation's largest newspaper company, Gannett, and started the nation's most widely read newspaper, USA Today. He is an Alpena High and University of South Dakota grad. Nueharth's start in journalism involves sports, and much of the success of USA Today is because of its innovative sports section. At USD, Nueharth was the sports editor and then editor of the student newspaper, The Volant. After graduating in 1950, he joined the Associated Press in Sioux Falls as a reporter. In 1952, Nueharth and a friend launched a statewide weekly called Sodak Sports. Though the publication was popular with readers, the tabloid printed on peach newsprint went belly up in less than 2 years. He worked at the Miami Herald and the Detroit Free Press before joining Gannett in 1963. He became Gannett's president and chief operating officer in 1970. In 1982, Al launched USA Today.
What a great night of sports memories this has been. But I think I should tell you that I don't really fit into that, and I have a few confessions to make to you. There is no question that I am the least qualified person ever to be named to the South Dakota Sports Hall of Fame. Let me tell you why. During grade school in Eureka, that's a little town up northwest of Aberdeen, the closest I came to doing any sports was riding a horse to herd cattle on my grandparents' farm. Then later at Alpena High School, that's near Huron, I wasn't good enough to make any of the sports teams, even though there were only 12 boys in my class. And so I became the first boy cheerleader at Alpena High School. I also became a sports writer for the little Alpena High School paper called The Echo. Let me tell you how that happened. There was a great English teacher and journalism school advisor who told me that the sure way to get on the bus to go to out-of-town games was as a sports writer. And that's when I first learned that sports writers don't have to pay to go to games, but they get to enjoy them and actually get paid for doing it. I've never forgotten that. I've never forgotten that teacher either, nor his name. He's now deceased, but his name was Lyman Lexter Bump, and he gave me a great bump in life. After high school and 3 years in World War II, I went to the University of South Dakota on the GI Bill, and there I wanted to become a sports broadcaster. As a freshman, I got to broadcast a Coyote football game. That's back when Harry Gamage had those great teams, and Ordell Brazy played there. I got to broadcast a play-by-play, and my older brother Walter was in the stands with a little radio, listening to it. But the guys in front of him kept turning around and scowling at him. And finally, one of them said to my brother Walter, "Will you please turn that damn thing down or turn it off?" And my brother said, well, what's the matter? Don't you want to hear the game while you're watching it? And their spokesman said, not with that idiot broadcasting it. So after the game, my brother told me about that, and I got a tape recording and listened to it, realized how bad I was, and that was the end of my sports broadcasting career. I went down the next Monday morning to the Volant, the student newspaper, and asked to become a sports writer. As you saw in the introduction, I later became sports editor and then editor of the Volant. After graduation, I went to work for the Associated Press here in Sioux Falls for $50 a week at the old Argus Leader building. But I didn't get to write much sports. I usually had to go up to Pier and write about politics. And I didn't have as much interest in that as I did in sports. So 2 years after my graduation, my best college pal, Bill Porter, who was from Madison, he had been the Volant business manager and the student body president. He and I decided that the way to get rich and famous was as newspaper publishers. And so we started this weekly tabloid named Sodak Sports that you've heard about. We started it in 1952. We begged and borrowed, and that's just water, isn't it? We begged and borrowed and stole nearly $50,000. We didn't really steal it, but we begged and borrowed it. There was a lot of money in those days, but I mismanaged it so badly that we went broke in less than 2 years. I was so disappointed that I ran away from home at age 30. Went all the way to Florida, tried to get a job as a sports writer, but couldn't, but I got a job as a City Hall reporter at the Miami Herald for $90 a week. I went on from there. Ultimately, while I couldn't letter in sports, couldn't really write sports for a big paper like the Miami Herald, and my Sodak Sports went broke, I did start this little paper called USA Today that you heard about. It has over 2.2 million circulation every day, the biggest in the country. And we also produce a little weekly sports tabloid that I hope some of you see. If you haven't seen it, it's over there on the table, called US Weekly. And if you compare it, except for the color of the newsprint, it's really a duplication of Sodak Sports on a national basis. The difference is that it makes money. I still write a weekly column in USA Today every Friday called Plain Talk, and I often write about sports, and it's honest to say that I often pick the wrong team. I picked the Yankees to win the World Series at the start of the season last year. Some of you may remember they didn't even make the playoffs. Well, at age 85, I'm a slow learner, so a couple of weeks ago, I picked them again to win it all this year. I won't have to apologize for several months. But I picked North Carolina and Connecticut and bet on both of them to be in the Final Four Monday night at Detroit. So far, as you heard, Connecticut lost to Michigan State, 82-73. Now, at halftime, I'm still hanging on. It's North Carolina 49, but Villanova 40. So I suggest that the best thing we can all do now is go to the nearest TV set, watch the rest of that game. And before we do that, though, I want to tell you that hearing and seeing all these South Dakota winners tonight makes up for all of my losses. And I thank you very much. Good night.
Well, it's another example of why this is a great place to live, isn't it? Every year when we induct people into the Hall of Fame, you hear great stories, but you also realize what a great place this is to live. And there is a lot of sports history here. And it's good stuff. And that film, I don't even remember Ron and some of the guys put together that we show now at the start, almost brings you to tears sometimes to think, you know, for not very many people we've had our impact. And Al's another example of how South Dakotans can make a difference. Once again, we want to thank our sponsors, our corporate sponsors, Burger King, Sanford Health Systems, and Dean's Foods. The arena lobby right now is the home of the South Dakota Sports Hall of Fame, and it's located outside the arena. There is a monument out there with the names of the people that have been inducted previous to that, and the lobby is probably open if you want to go look at it. There's a Skyforce game, I think, that could be over. So we want to welcome you to do that as well. Also, we have DVDs of tonight that can be ordered. They're on sale for $1,555. 15 of it goes to the South Dakota Sports Hall of Fame and the balance to me. And I would appreciate if you would order several. Actually, it's $15. Ron Hoffman, where are you, Ron? He'll be back there somewhere, so you can order that. The inductees and their families, we want to thank you for coming. Also, KDLT TV, the Argus Leader, the University of South Dakota, Bob Felber, the National Trap Shooting Association, the University of Sioux Falls, the University of Colorado, Augustana College, and the South Dakota High School Activities Board activities helped us put together the films and intros on each of the families, along with KSFY, KELO, Bob Laskowski, the Boston Red Sox, the University of Notre Dame, the University of Nebraska, the National Football League, and Major League Baseball. We didn't always used to have to say that, but there's a lot of laws now. And you can stay as long as you want. The room is ours till 2 in the morning. Is that correct? No, not quite. 1:45. So you can stay and mingle and mix. You're welcome to do that. I believe the bars will be open. So thank you for coming, and thank you for being a part of South Dakota sports. Good night.